Good day, Mission Possible podcast community. I'm your host, Doug Dvorak, and welcome to another issue of Mission Possible, where we interview incredible guests who are making a difference in some aspect of life, business, or exploring possibilities. Today's guest is Amy Bond, State Director of MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network in Idaho. She also is an ET contact experiencer. So welcome to the Mission Possible podcast, Amy. I'm so excited to have you. You know, UFOs are top of mind, but tell us a little bit about yourself and MUFON as the state director and a former chief investigator for MUFON.
Absolutely. Well, first, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. The time has come to get this kind of information out and help it to be more normal conversation at the dinner table and not something that's shamed. I am now the state director of the MUFON Idaho, but before that, I had a pretty normal Generation X kind of life. You know, I grew up in a very small Oregon community that was a lot of ranching, a lot of ag, and very small. Eastern Oregon, as you can imagine.
Was that in the Steens?
No, it was in LeGrand.
I know LeGrand. I went to the Steens and did some hiking. That is off the grid.
It is.
But it's beautiful country. So you're from LeGrand.
Cool. Yeah, I grew up in LeGrand, and I also grew up in a really isolated mountain in LeGrand. So it was a half a mile to get to my bus stop. So my brother and I would ski to the bus stop because you couldn't get a car in and out from the main roads. I mean, so it was really something. You know, I tell people that story. People don't believe it, but it's absolutely true. We had cross-country skis so we could glide down, but then scoot up, right? At the end of the day, we just stick them in the ditch, get on the school bus. It was a whole thing.
So you're not going to tell me I had to walk a half mile in the snow. I've interviewed a lot of guests that lived off grid and had to walk in the snow.
Oh,
but you literally skied.
Well, we skied most of the time, but if it skied while you were at school, you had to walk. So, because, you know, whatever. But so I married my high school sweetheart. We raised two boys. I went to dental hygiene school, was a dental hygienist for almost 30 years, really close to 30 years.
But you're not just a dental hygienist, because you are a dental hygienist who could also do fillings, and I've never heard about that. What is that?
That's not in every state. That's in Washington, I think California, some other states. It's not in Idaho. So I had to get a 4-year degree and then go through specific training to do that. We're called expanded functions hygienists, and
so you have roots in the material science and traditional thinking, upbringing, and then you're going to share a little bit in a moment how that was really changed when you had some experiences with ET. But you were going down the path, a very, very traditional upbringing, but being raised on a ranch in just pristine beauty, not a lot of outside influences other than your family, your friends, your high school, your church, and you're going down this lane. And then, you know, what happened? Because we've talked, but I want you to explain that first encounter and how it just blew up your world.
Right, it did. Well, the first encounter didn't. But I think I should add real quick that being isolated out there, we didn't have TV because you couldn't get TV in the 70s out there. So I spent a ton of time just playing alone out in the forest. All hours and hours and hours. I was always out there, big make-believe kind of thing. So I had a great imagination and whatnot. And I had a ton of art supplies, and so I was doing art constantly. So, I mean, that maybe is not normal. Like, there were lots of kids that lived in town and had neighborhoods and played basketball with each other. I didn't experience that at all. I was alone a lot. But anyway,
But, you know, I grew up as an only child in the Chicago suburbs, plenty of farmland in the 70s. We're both about the same age. But I remember at night looking up at the sky, and it was beautiful,
yes.
but there was light pollution. I can imagine in La Grande, and when I moved from Chicago to McCall, Idaho, with no light pollution, it blew me away
Right.
on a clear night what I could see. When you were growing up, were you the kid who stared at the night sky and asked, "What's out there?" Or did this
Yes.
world? How did you find that
My
unexpected?
imagination was so rich. And I have to say, I was that kid. I was fascinated with sci-fi. Living out where I lived, we slept outside most nights of the summer. We had a trampoline and we'd sleep on the trampoline. I could see the whole Milky Way, all of its colors, all of its fuzziness or whatever. And I remember one night asking my dad, "What is that?" He's like, "Well, that's the Milky Way, and that's all these different stars." And that's when I was like fascinated. Like, if a star is a sun, if the sun is a star, does that mean every single one of those have planets around it? And that was not something people even talked about until probably maybe in the last 10 years or whatever. But I mean, every single star you see has planets. Every single one of those stars have planets in a Goldilocks zone. So that's pretty interesting. So yes, I absolutely was that kid. And I was already having experiences at that time. So it was very normal for me to go, "Oh, all right. So, you know,
Yeah, I remember when I was, and I had a UAP UFO experience at about 11, where it was a summer evening, and in the sky this big orb with fire behind it. It was nothing else, and I reached out to someone or somehow. There was no internet back then, and they sent me a packet of information. I filled it out, but it really. It was more interesting and fascinating. I wasn't scared. I didn't know what it was, but I think I want to get right into the heart of this conversation. Right now, UFOs, UAPs are top of mind. They're all in the media, very credible media sources. David Grush, a former U.S. intelligence officer, Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett, and a host of other prominent thought leaders, scientists, and institutions are talking about UFOs, ET encountered experiences, and UAPs. Then you add to that Bob Lazar's experience in Skinwalker Ranch. Why now? Instead of just a blurb of a gray, as you refer to them, or the community refers to them, the grays, not in a wacky social media or the Inquirer. I mean, these are credible people, educated like yourself, rooted in good values, critical thinking, and they have these wild experiences.
Yes.
They do not strike me as a few fries short of a Happy Meal or out there. These are very together, honest, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens that are holding a job, and then they experience. So the question is, why now with all this in the media?
I don't think it can be suppressed anymore. I think humanity is ready. We've reached a point in our technology where we, even on the internet, it's really hard to discern sometimes AI from what is real. So we've kind of reached this point in technology, and I think the ETs are actually like, okay, they're ready. They're ready. And they're making it more visual. More and more people we have had in MUFON Idaho, we have had in just this year, these last 6 months, more cases than we had in the previous year, and then in the previous year. Like, it's just been exponentially growing. And in those cases, we've had what's called ERT, experiencer, where we have to bring on a resource team of people to help with counseling, because it's such a shattering of their, like, oh wow, everything I thought was real is now shattered. So we are ready as a collective people to accept this new reality. And I think most of us don't like what's happening in our interactions with other countries warring. There's so much hunger, there's so much pollution, there's so many things happening. People want this to change. And so our collective consciousness about it, but our collective unity in it is like, I want this to be different. And the ETs are like, okay, they're ready. We're coming in, and we're making it so they can't hide this anymore.
So you said a 2x, 3x increase this year in in sightings, experiences alone. How many of those individuals were rocked and
All of them.
transferred in a positive, non comatose? Just it rocked them so much they had to go see a therapist or some of your team. But how many looked at it as, wow, it's like that near-death experience, seeing the white light. I'm not afraid of death anymore. What is the overarching theme? Is it fear and loathing, leave me alone, or wow, it was peaceful, give me more?
I think the very first thing people say, it's almost like when you go through a grief sequence, right? Shock, absolute shock. My world has been crumbled around me. And then the denial, and then no, that couldn't have been, that had to have been a dream. And then I don't know what the other ones are.
Bargaining, and then acceptance.
Yeah, finally, and then the anger. It's all there. It all happens. And what's cool about this is it happens pretty fast. It isn't like when you lose someone you really love, and sometimes you're in that anger phase for years. I experienced that with losing my daddy, but no, this goes boom, 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 and they start seeking. I need somebody to talk to. I have to put some reality back into this experience that has shattered everything I've ever thought was real.
So tell us about the MUFON, the UFO network, the mutual UFO network, and what is the charter? What do they do? And unpack that for us, would you please?
Sure. Well, MUFON Idaho grew out of this real need in the state of Idaho for some leadership in this category, because even though it wouldn't seem this way, but we're in the top 5 of all the states, right? Per capita.
All 50 states or just 48 contiguous?
Oh, of all 50 states?
All 50, okay.
Yeah, of all 50. Alaska has quite a few things going on. Every state that's right along the water, around the ocean, so we've got your California, your Texas, and then in the Gulf, and then over there on Florida and whatnot. They have tons and tons of reports every month, but they have way more people, right? Mm-hmm. Here in Idaho, we have much fewer people and big open spaces, and people love to be outdoors in Idaho. We love to be camping, and we have big open spaces with no air traffic going.
Right.
We have big places where there's nobody, and no light pollution either. So when people see things, they're pretty much got it figured out. They're just like, okay, that is absolutely not a plane, or whatever. But I mean, there are some really cool meteorologic things that it can be too, which blew my mind when I learned about them too. But really, okay. But MUFON in and of itself, it's the largest long-standing global organization that's put together by citizens, training other citizens to be good investigators and to follow evidence, not follow emotion, but follow the nuts and bolts of the evidence. And it's been around since the 60s. And every state at this point has their own smaller group that helps to support the people in that state that have these experiences.
But there seems to be a concentration in the West, Nevada, Utah, to your point, where there's not a lot of people. Why the higher concentration in the areas you've talked about? Because of less light pollution, perhaps less people. But the Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, that's really Skinwalker Ranch around the greater Las Vegas area. Why that area?
I don't have a real smart answer for that exactly. I just don't know why that it would be in Skinwalker Ranch. I don't think they know why yet either, but it has something to do with energy, something to do with the natural energy in the earth. Maybe creating places that they can come in and out more frequently.
So I have an experience with a UFO, a UAP, and I'm rocked, and I call MUFON Idaho.
Yes.
What happens then? There's an investigator. Unpack what that investigation looks like.
Of course. So,
and the process, and from first report to final conclusion.
Absolutely. So someone has an experience and they make a report, and the report comes to me, and then either I follow with that process of the investigation, or I assign it to either the chief investigator or to a field investigator who lives in that area perhaps, or that we're trying to train and train up. And in that case, we're with that person through the whole thing. So I just start to collect the evidence, the real basic stuff, like what was the exact time? What was what is your exact latitude and longitude in the spot? Are you facing north? Are you facing whatever? And then I grab all that. Do they have data? Did they get a picture of it? Or a video? And we're so good at that now. We all have our phones with us all the time. So there usually is a video. And then I go to the analysis phase. I put their video or their picture through a metadata extractor, where it's funny how humans we're really bad at what the exact time is. We're really bad about that. So I can extract the exact time that photo was shot, the exact latitude and longitude, the angle, how high it is up in the sky sometimes will show me that. And if it's had any kind of manipulation, like did they edit this picture at all? And if I can, and I haven't found one yet that's been edited. People have been super genuine. So they're like, no, this is exactly what I saw or whatever. And so then I could say, okay, so I can say that this person is not trying to hoax me. And this is a piece of evidence that I can use. And then I take that data and I go through flight records. I can go back as far as 5 years in flight records. Meteorologic data, satellite data. I mean, you name it. We exhaust it. We try to rule out every single thing it could possibly be using a scientific method.
So you follow a scientific method, a systems process, data, timestamp. But what percentage of the cases that you investigate turn out to have a conventional explanation, and what do the rest look like?
About 80 to 85% we can figure it out.
Okay.
But that leaves 15 to 20.
But what are some? Give me some examples of the 80-85% that have a conventional definition.
Okay. Oh my gosh, Starlink is a big contender, because Starlinks that were launched back in 2022, they still fly over Idaho. And I had one just recently where the person goes, it was flying in an arc right at the panhandle of the Little Dipper, of the Big Dipper. I was able to go into one called stellarium.web or -web, and it's really hard to see them because they're teeny dots of light, but I found one at the exact time. And so then I was like, it was this number, Starlink, number 355, whatever it is. Whatever. And so Starlinks and the satellites are a big deal. And if you went on to something called Heavens Above, which is something else that I use, and say, show me all the Starlinks going over the Earth right now, it looks like a mass of bugs around the Earth. It is so thick, so many. So I've found Starlink quite often. But another one are the toroidal meteor showers. They could look green and look like a tube. They are so crazy looking. So there's that one too.
So satellites, Starlink, meteor. There's websites that you. What was the first one? Heavens Above. Heavens Above.
It's and really then, hard to navigate. It's
kind of wonky.
What's that?
Kind of wonky website.
It is kind of wonky.
Okay.
It's hard to navigate, but we can train you to navigate it if you want to be an investigator.
And then what about the 15% that are confirmed? What do those look like? Unpack that for us.
Okay, so I love the ones where the object is not anything that we can just that we have on Earth. Like, say it drops in out of nowhere, just it's there. It tumbles, it moves, has multicolors, and then it goes boom, and just gone within seconds. We have no way that we're making something like that right now. At least nothing that anybody's talking about. Or it drops and hovers for hours in one spot. There's ones that do like that. It tumbles, blinks in, blinks out, blinks in, blinks out of nowhere. And
so, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And we can't parallel that with maybe an aircraft that's transponding.
So, of those 15% that you identify as credible, real, are those just sightings, or how much of those 15% confirmed are interactions with grays or ETs?
Right. The majority of the ones that people see in the sky, they have no memory of it being an interaction. So we call those Those are like the Jacques Vallée classification of the classifications. 3, 2, 1. We follow the Jacques Vallée classifications of close encounters of the first kind, second, third, fourth.
And what are those? Unpack those for our
Right.
listeners.
Okay, let's do it. So the first kind is a flyby. A flyby. No interaction with the person. Their dogs don't freak out or anything. They just saw something that didn't fit. So the second kind is it came and it landed and it created some kind of mark on the ground, or the dogs were reacting, or the dogs were cowering, or everything in their house glitched for a moment and reset itself. Type 3 is the person actually has their eyes on another living thing. Through a window, it drops, it lands, they got out and they're looking at them. Most of the time, okay, I better get through this first, and then I'll tell you what most of the time is. And then the class of 4 is when you have an actual interaction where you've been touched by them, they've moved you, you've had an actual abduction experience. And then there's the type 5, which is people that are intentionally trying to draw them into themselves. And that's kind of a new thing. That's called CE5. We do have a CE5 group in Idaho, but it's not connected to MUFON. So we stick with the 1, 2, 3, 4. And what typically happens, if somebody's going to have an interaction, an abduction, it's usually from them sleeping. Usually. But there have been ones where people say, it followed my car, I had this feeling I needed to pull over, and then 5 hours are missing of their life, and they find themselves back in their car, and 5 hours have gone by, and they have no memory of it. That's happened as well. Actually pretty close to Caldwell. That was a really neat one. That was amazing because there was more than one person in the car, and they can all verify about it.
Well, we've talked, and you've done a great job of sort of framing the macro, why it's in the media, why more experts are coming out, because humanity, the collective, is ready for it. What MUFON does, what is a part of the investigation, close encounters of 1 through the 5th kind. But I really found it fascinating when we were talking prior to our podcast, your personal ET contact experiences. Let's talk about the personal side. And what I'd ask of you is, when you get to, I respect that you said the grays, and there's a couple of, I'd love for you to bring in those pieces of artwork, which I saw, because you're a very nice person, but you're also a very competent and
Thank you.
Artist, as I see in the background. But you said, hey, Doug, wait, I want to show you what I actually saw. And that was interesting. And my limit, I'm certainly no way as deep and knowledgeable and credible as you are, if at all, relative to ET contact experiences, UFOs, UAPs. But the common thread in your pictures, what I've saw, is the little grays. Yeah. It's consistent. It's not like it's the common thread. So take us to that first experience, and then just build upon it and walk us through it.
All right. My very first experience was when I was 8 years old. And I woke up and I discovered that I was rising up out of my bed. I went through my ceiling, went through the attic. I was awake. Went through the roof of my house, and it should have been cold outside. I was wearing a flannel nightie, and there was no snow, so I'm thinking it's late spring to my memory, but I found myself
And this is in La Grande, Oregon.
This is in La Grande, Oregon.
Okay.
So everywhere I've lived, they find me wherever I am. It does not matter. You cannot hide from these if they want to interact with you. So I'm up above my house. I'm in a full night sky. And to my 8-year-old brain, I was like, this rocks. I can fly. I had no fear. I had absolutely no fear. I was simply in love with the fact that I could fly. And I'm like, I'm gonna go see some friends. And then velvety black comes around me. And then the very next memory I have is I'm coming back through the ceiling, through the attic, tink, tink, tink. And I am back in my bed and the sun is hitting my face. So that was both physical, that was both non-physical, and that was probably telepathic, but I don't have a memory of talking to them at that time. My memories of talking to them were much, much later in life.
So this happens at 8. You had
8.
this flying experience. You're going up through the roof into the sky.
Yeah.
And what did you feel like after that? Were you confused? Did you think it was a dream? What was your feeling?
I was happy. I felt special. I felt like I've got something that I need to, I'm part of something bigger. But, my life kind of continued. I had to go to school, and I didn't have to ski that day, but I did have to go get on the bus, and my life, all the conditioning of my life just kind of put me back into this, and I probably kind of forgot about it.
Did you share it with anybody?
I did. The thing is, that's the problem. 1979, all the way through the rest of it. Every experience that I had, I shared with other people, and the response was horrible.
Like what?
Well, they didn't believe
She's crazy. She's
weird.
Stoned. She was hot. Whatever. I'm not suggesting you.
She's weird, and then people at church wanted to cast out the demons and put their hands on me. I went to church and actually asked for prayer, and I was treated after that with quite a bit of separation, and I felt really, really weird. I felt weird.
So they thought you were possessed and visited by Satan, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I think in those years, being raised in an evangelical kind of theology, what was good about that was that things that we can't see absolutely exist. And so I was fully on board with things we can't see can absolutely exist. So when poltergeisty experiences would happen to me, which is kind of the way I framed it, all the way from age 8, all the way up until I was much older, until I could actually see what I was dealing with visually, then I was either I'm dealing with a demon or I'm dealing with something angelic and whatnot. So I was framing it in that way. So when I was dealing with what I thought were demons, I would be very, very strict about, in the name of Jesus, I cast you out and whatnot. But later, when I realized maybe it was NHI all along.
What's NHI?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Non-human intelligence. That's a buzzword that's used in this community and now in the government and whatever. But maybe it was them all along. But I'm not going to say that it wasn't demons. I'm not going to say that sometimes it wasn't angels. Why can't it be all of it?
So you're 8 years old.
Right.
This experience happens in approximately 1979 in LeGrand, Oregon. Then what's the next piece of your ET contact experience?
I want to skip because there were so many paranormal ones that seemed like ghosts that I think may have not been ghosts now, but who knows? So I want to skip until I'm a little bit older. And I have this,
About what age?
I wrote down the date. So I'm in my 40s by now. Oh, I'm in my 50s. August 13, 2023.
So that's the most recent, most impactful, and you had other experiences, but this one was much more expansive.
Maybe we should pick just one, because what I have here are like 4, where it's all the same beings.
You talk however about whatever you want.
Okay. Sorry. Can we go back?
Sure.
This just went over my candle and caught on fire.
Oh no.
So, but it's good.
Okay.
All right. So
3, 2, 1. So your first encounter was when you were 8 in 1979 in LeGrand, Oregon. Then you had a number of other experiences or contacts.
Yes.
But take us to 1 or 2 of the most recent, most impactful. And if you have any of your artwork, if you could show that to our listeners, because it's really, really beautiful, and I think it helps to expand upon the story.
Absolutely. So I'm dreaming, and I'm in a big sky of stars, and I have no awareness of my body, but I know that I exist. But I exist with everything, and I have no worries. I am just very happy. And then I began to notice that all around me, light begins to filter in, and it's prisms. It's like broken glass with light shining through it in multiple colors.
Where are you at when this happens?
I'm
In
just in
Boise?
outer space.
No,
Oh, I'm
no.
sleeping. I'm sleeping
Oh, you're sleeping in Idaho.
in Idaho.
Okay, so you're sleeping and then this occurs. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah. So, and the date for this is November 21st, 2023. So I'm asleep, and this dark sky all around me all of a sudden becomes like it's a dome of prismatic light. It's like, and you know what I mean by prism, like the Pink Floyd album with the light, and then it spectrals like that. Okay, so it's like prisms breaking into prisms, breaking into prisms, breaking into prisms, and I'm like, wow, this is extraordinary. This is beautiful, and I become kind of aware that I'm in a lucid dream. I know that I'm dreaming. I know that, lucid dreams are different than dreams. You know that you're dreaming. I'm like, this is phenomenal. And I start becoming more aware that I have hands and I have a body. So I'm moving backwards through the light, and then it it becomes very clear that I am face to face with a being that looks like this.
Wow.
See the prismatic light?
I
See the
do.
prisms in its eyes are sparkling?
Mm-hmm.
So I felt at the time I was super tiny and I was coming out of its right eye, coming out, but I think I was just becoming aware of my body again. I'd gone from having no body at all to becoming human again, and as the more human I got, the more I was backing away from this person, the more I was already beginning to forget. I was becoming more into my body. And I was like, I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget. And I was reaching out like, I don't want to forget this. Help me remember it. And I woke up in my bed like I had been underwater. Like I needed air. And I was like, oh my gosh, I checked the time. I start to write it. By this time, I've got a pad of paper by my bed. So I start to write it down. And it took me a long time to be able to make that drawing, because I couldn't paint it. I had to go find certain paper that would do that reflection. But from what I've heard from other experiencers, people that have called into MUFON and they want to talk about their experience, they talk about being in a room that's prismatic light. And they talk about how when they need to be put under control, this being that has eyes like human eyes, but they look like a gray otherwise, except for they're taller, and they have a pupil and an iris, and they come right up to their face, and they just grab a hold of your consciousness so that you can stay under control, and they can control how much you see.
All right, let me ask you a question. So you've had normal dreams, whatever normal dreams are, that are not ET experiences. So based on a normal dream versus the ET, your personal ET contact experiences, what's the difference? And some of the stories of people that have been interacted with ETs or grays, they have physically been taken to a room, a space, a ship. Some have been probed. You've actually had some experiences like that. But I guess my question is, normal dream versus this experience, is the ET... Go ahead.
Every dream, I have never had a normal dream that involved them. Every single interaction that I've had with them may have seemed like it was starting as a dream, but it did not end as a dream. It ended with something physical, or that one ended with me sitting up in my bed, but I knew that was not a dream. I was somewhere else. And it may have not been my whole body. It may have just been my consciousness of my mind. There is a difference. People have both of these experiences. But that one was the very first time that I was that close. I was that close. And there was no telepathic communication between me and that being in that dream, except for me just like, don't let me forget this. because I'd known, I had been with them multiple times and I was only getting little shots of it, little memories, broken fragments of it. So I was able to remember a lot of that. So do you see how I'm saying there is a difference? There's the full-on dream where, you know, you're riding a unicorn or whatever. Those are dreams, and you wake up thinking that's pretty funny. There's the ones that leave you, they will not leave you alone. And then there's the ones where you're in a dream and you know you're in a dream and you can manipulate the dream. That's lucid dreaming.
So when you say contact, you've expressed a number of different feelings, experiences, but what does that actually mean in your experience? Is it physical, telepathic, visual, or something beyond our vocabulary?
I'm going to say right now that the ET beings, they're not going to show up to you in a way that you can't absorb. So if you can only absorb them, seeing them in a dream kind of where you have no memory of being touched, that's all they're going to do with you, because it's not worth it to them to give us fear-based memories, although some people are afraid because they're just people that are afraid of stuff. So I'm going to jump. So it is, for me, there's been telepathic, there's been physical changes in me. And
what were some of those physical changes? Because you shared with me, you experienced a ear probe, and you had some weird stuff after the experience. Talk to us about, you know, the touching or the testing or the probing that you experienced.
Okay, so this is going to be hard for some people, but I'm putting it all out there in case there's somebody else that can benefit from this information. So I drew a picture of this. So having been a practitioner for as long as I was, I do have a lot of dreams where they're frustration dreams sometimes, where you think I'm behind schedule or whatever, and I've had those dreams a lot. So in this particular, I know I acknowledge that I am a practitioner and I'm trying to get ready for patients and I'm already behind schedule. So there's a gray right next to me, and the gray is telling me I need to get into the dental chair. I'm kind of summing this up a little bit. And I'm noticing that over here on the right, there's a tray of instruments and there's blood on the instruments. And I'm irritated. I'm like, I can't see the next patient with bloody instruments. I need clean ones. And then I realized that, and I'm not even acknowledging that this is a gray next to me at the time. It's like I know this person. And then I look down, and towards my feet, there are two grays down at my feet. And then there's a third gray right over here next to this machine. And then I realized that I am not the practitioner, I'm the patient.
Wow.
And that's probably my blood right here. This machine is held up to the side of my head, and these little pokey outy points, I only remember them being on the corners, but I wonder if maybe there were more. I'm not sure, but one of them was put on the bridge of my nose, and the other was put under my chin. And I just succumb to it. I just accept it. Like, here we are again. Something's going on. It's put up to the right side of my head, and then something is put in my ear. And I just kind of, okay. I was thinking they were putting me under this hypnosis kind of state to where I would be in a comfortable situation thinking I was in a dream. But I kind of woke up in it, and I was like, okay, something's going on. So the next day, I had soreness in this ear for 2 full weeks. There was just a little blood on my pillow, not much, kind of more gunky plasma or whatever. And for 2 years, this ear was kind of gunky. I went to the doctor. He looked inside, and he's like, it just looks like you got kind of an owie in there. Did you poke yourself real hard, you know? I'm like, no. I didn't tell him because, what do you...
I was visited by...
Like, I have an ear probe, right? So it was, and that one happened 7/27/25. So that was just last summer. Okay. So I'm like, what's the point of this ear probe? It healed over time. I wasn't able to use my earbuds for those 2 weeks because it just hurt too much. And so, can't even tell my friends, right? I didn't even tell my friends. I just wrote it down, did a picture.
So go ahead.
Okay, so I understood the purpose of that probably partially in What is the date of this one? September 16th, 2025. I'm in a dream, and in my dream I am working on what's called psychokinesis. I'm trying to lift things with my mind. I'm in a school, and I'm in a school a lot in my dreaming. So I'm in a school, there's a little gray next to me, and I just kind of accept there's a little gray next to me, and I'm lifting things up with my mind, and and I have this little vibration feeling over me that's real gentle, and it feels good, and I'm happy, and I have a purpose. I'm working on something, and then this wave comes over me that's a really intense vibration, like it is so strong. It is so fast. I am paralyzed, and I wake up. And in this ear, I hear ding-a-ling-a-ling.
You said like a doorbell.
Like a doorbell. Like, we're here. And I'm like, it's them. They're here. And I think to myself, why do I always get so freaked out about this? I know these guys by now. They've never hurt me. And I hear in my mind, do not be afraid. Just like that, I am not afraid. It all just goes out to me. And I go, I want to see you. I want to see your faces, but I can't open my eyes. My room was filled with intense white light. Light that is so intense, I could not open my eyes, and I'm trying. And in my mind, I hear, well, you can see us with your eyes closed. Okay, never thought of that. So I surrender to it. I like that word. It is more of a surrender because there's nothing you can do about this. And so I just surrendered to it, and I closed my eyes, and I said, please, can you guys all get together in the front? I want to see all your faces. And I look, and down in front of me, I've got 5 little grays, and they're kind of cute. They're all a little bit different, but not much. And when they talk, they all talk at once. So they have a collaborative mind where they
hive
have
kind
a
of
hive, what's been described as a hive mind. And then there's this one guy with the eyes, which he's taller.
looks like a praying mantis.
Oh, well, there's a praying mantis here.
Oh, the other one with the regular eyes.
The other one with the regular eyes, and I've come to the conclusion that might be this person. Might be that person who's always kind of putting me under control, keeping me under control. And his look into me is very intense. It is boom, it's on me. And I'm wondering, is this the one putting me into this vibrational state? This praying mantis had a very, very kind face. And its skin was fuzzy and soft, and it had the joint here, and then finally a little hand here, a little antenna. I have no recollection of there being anybody in any kind of insignia on their clothes. I don't remember anybody wearing clothes.
So you had 5. Can you leave that up? You had 5, of which had the black eyes, and one with the right, and then the other praying mantis, all at the foot of your bed.
Yeah.
So,
With my husband right next to me, completely unaware.
Did he ever say anything that he heard or felt something
I
weird?
asked him
Or
the next morning, and he had absolutely no idea this happened. So all these little guys, all at once, are saying the word ambassador. Ambassador. But they say it in a little bit different tones, but they're ambassador, they're all saying it. And then I said, are you saying I'm an ambassador for you to us kind of thing? And they said ambassador a second time. And it became clear to me that when I'm hearing words in full sentences and it's a female voice, I think it's the mantis. When I'm hearing words that are just words, maybe clue words, it's these little guys, these little worker guys. And when I'm under their control with the vibration, it's this guy. I think they all have different roles that they're playing in this. So I said, well, I would like to be an ambassador. I was kind of thinking I already was, but I have some questions. And at that point, the little ones are coming around me and they're lifting me up. I feel my body lift, and that dark, soft black wrapped around me. When I found myself back in my bed, I was still vibrating. I was still, and it took about 20 minutes, I think, for me to be able to move under my own control again. And I got right up, checked the time, 3:23 a.m. I start to write down what happened, as as fast as I can remember. And when my husband got up, I asked him, but oh my goodness, that's probably my favorite one because I got a word in edgewise for the first time I can remember. But I do believe that my subconscious mind and my conscious mind are working with them in different capacities. Like me dreaming that I'm working on levitating things with my mind, that's got to be my subconscious mind working on something. But then me coming into my human body, like when I flowed back into my human body in this scenario, the more and more I came into my human body, the more I was already forgetting. And I was like, I don't want to forget. And it took an actual act of will to not forget.
So let me ask you, go ahead.
I was 100% awake.
So prompts through several questions. First and foremost, 2 to 3x increase year over year, and this year more sightings in Idaho than the last couple combined. Institutions, thought leaders, more credible individuals and institutions confirming this. Are you, and you've had, the deepest, richest ET experiences in the last couple of years. Do you think that's in preparation because the collective humanity is ready? So yes. The answer is yes. And what message did they give you? You did address it, ambassador. Is that the overarching theme when you are doing the 15% that experience level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, that they're getting some sort of message?
Yes. Well, I have to say there have been people with these experiences where they feel like they've been given these tasks, like help the earth and stop the wars kind of tasks. I have never heard those. Those have never come to me. When they have come to me, I've received messages of personal growth, things that I've needed at the time when I was going through really deep grief. And I've heard them messages say, Amy, you are so loved. You are so loved. Or maybe moments of clarity when I was in a really, really bad place. Because like I said, when my dad died, I was so angry and so full of grief that it took almost 10 years for me to process it. I was so mad about it. And so the messages in me personally have been that I have been being kind of groomed a little bit, kind of grown to hold this spot for other people, so that I think there's a really good chance that open communication with this NHI, and so forth, it's going to be within the next year or two, where they're actually physically with us. And this is going to be a really hard thing for some people to take, and I'm going to be the one that's maybe in between as the mediator.
Yeah, not only hard for some people to take, but what about governments, religions, religious institutions? Sure. Whatever helps people, spirituality, religion. If they are people of faith, I encourage that. Christians, Muslims, Jews, whatever, spirituality, but that's going to blow up a lot of controversy for institutions, mass panic. How are we going to deal with this?
Well, I think there's going to be a really big spectrum because not everybody's ready, but I think a lot of people are, but most people are kind of somewhere in the middle, right? So I think there's going to be some people that have such awe with it that they create a religion of it and start to worship it, because we've seen that happen through history over and over and over. If all the foundational religions were to get kind of real about what Christ was saying maybe before the Bible kind of got all put together in the year 300 with Constantine and so forth going forward, or whatever, there was talk about ancient aliens. There was talk about ancient connections that weren't God, that were other people kind of maybe pretending to be God, or maybe just imparting just imparting new knowledge, but we were had such reverence for them that we decided to make gods out of them. So there's going to be the folks that do that again. Then there's going to be the folks way over on the other end who are like, I do not accept this. I will not accept this. And their brain will literally block them from seeing it, because our brains are more of a filter. And they'll kind of find their people and they will separate. And then there's going to be everybody in the middle who are going to ask, well, what's new? So what changes? I still got to get up and go to work tomorrow. Is my job going to change? Are they going to replace fossil fuels because they know how to move their ships without them? I think all that's going to happen. It won't happen fast because that would be catastrophic. And so probably, well, our government is trying to put together, and other governments, a way for them to kind of integrate into us, and we can start using these technologies and phase into each new part of our growth, because we're ready for this change. We can't be using these fossil fuels anymore. We have to change. I mean, we have to find other ways. How did they do it? How did they get here? And are they already here, but just in another dimension, and we have to be in a different frequency of vibrating? That's why I think I get that real strong vibration, is that they're in a frequency, kind of like on a radio. They're in a frequency that I don't live in here on Earth. I have like a physical kind of frequency that I live in here on Earth, but they live somewhere that maybe is in a different frequency, and they have to dial down to where I am to kind of be able to communicate with me.
So several thought leaders, experts in UFOs and UAPs, think the increase in experiences, sightings, visits, experiences is because of the state of our planet. Wars, global warming, violent weather, and that they're going to come, and the sightings have increased because of all these problems with 8.5 billion people on the planet. Right. So that's really, I find that interesting. I want to also explore, if you are familiar with remote viewing, it's not a traditional topic in normal science or material science, but remote viewers, and there's some very credible research out there that an individual can have be given a number, and when she is given that number, they can determine what the object is. Yes. And there's some really cool research, but they believe that those individuals, that we all have had or have the capability to do something paranormal. Mm-hmm. Not weird, but call it intuition, call it deja vu or remote viewing, but that the people that have that skill have recognized it, honed it, and are ready. You had mentioned that you had seen in your experience that you could telekinesis. Mm-hmm. Have you been able to, now that you're aware of it, experienced in one realm, are you able to dial into more of these paranormal skills or phenomena beyond the ET experience? Has it heightened it, made you more aware?
Definitely more aware. I can't move things with my mind yet. I sure want to. I have done the thing that other people do, where they take the little piece of tin foil and they bend it and they put it on a needle like it's bouncing, and I can use my hands and I can make it move just by not touching it, and that's the farthest I can go with it. So, but oh gosh, I would just love to have those skills. Man, wouldn't that be great? That'd be fabulous. But as far as like intuitive hits and so forth, I have to say, yeah, something that I've always had is when someone is struggling and they want to talk to me, I have an ability to empathize with them in a way that I can feel what they feel. And that's been problematic, but I have learned how to manage it a little bit and help give them good guidance, help give them good direction, like I'm being spoken through by something that's on a higher level. And I've just really appreciated that.
Yeah. And, we're living, working at a unnatural pace. It's frenetic. Yeah. It's too much. The mind's like the mouth. It can only hold so much. And all these distractions, how many hours we are on a screen, work, and or relaxation or recreation, north of 10 hours a day for some, and absent that, but being open to new ideas, be it the paranormal, be it individuals like yourself who are open and forthright and no hidden agenda. You're not pitching books. You're not pitching MUFON memberships at 500 a year. This is, and there's risk. There's risk to that, but there's also
$50 one.
but you agreed to be a guest and to share your experiences, and this has been incredible. I've got a couple of questions.
Yes.
Relative to if someone has an experience,
Yes.
and they come to you, Amy. So if someone has an experience, they come to you. What's that first 5-10 minutes look like? If they think they're losing their mind or they're just fearful, what do you do?
Well, that's happened quite often actually in the last month. What I did was I said, let's not worry about doing the report. One person, I met her in an open park because she doesn't know me from anybody. I don't know her. And she was really afraid to even tell MUFON about it. And so she and I met in an open park with tons of people out around us. And I just sat across from her, and for an hour and a half, she just told me everything. And I didn't even try to explain it to her. All I did was just listen to her. And by the time we were done, when she was done telling me the story, I said, do you want to meet other people that have had similar experiences? And she's like, yeah, but mine is so weird. And I'm like, yeah, well, there's way weirder ones than yours. And so it's community. It's you're not weird in a group of weirdos. You know what I mean? If you can find your people and whatnot, and they can just help you just sort through it. The thing is, it's nothing about this is gonna fit in normal human boxes. None of this fits in that, and we're thinking in human terms for something that's not human. We're like, well, our intentions are this, our purposes for the things we do are this. Well, that's probably not their intentions, and they're not all the same. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the whole universe in all of its life is all benevolent. It's absolutely can't be true. But the ones that have interacted with me, the grays, those little hybrid people, the mantises, and then I've seen some other ones I won't even bring up because it'd be too hard to swallow. None of them have ever injured me, and they've always been loving to me. And after I have had time with them, I have felt overwhelmed with love and purpose for days and days and days and days.
And so you've grown because that experience has challenged how you look at the world, the upbringing, religion, and made you a better person. And if I were to go back in the time machine to 1400 and pull this device out and say, I can talk to anybody in the world at any time. I am 5 minutes away from answering any question in the known universe that's on the web, very credible sources, and I can do FaceTime, and we can talk to somebody in Saudi Arabia right now. They'd say, they'd probably burn me at the stake.
Yeah.
So, as this is evolving and organizations, institutions, scientists are pushing the envelope, it's more credible and people are open. And I think the other thing that is playing in the positive to the UFO, UAP, ET experiencer community, while people, the general public, will accept it more, is because at least in this country, we have truth decay. AI, there's so much fake, there's agenda, sell me something, this, that, the other, and loss of trust in government institutions, and traditional news sources. Just the explosion of podcasts on UFO, UAP alone. People are more open to that, and they're looking for something, larger than themselves, some to religion, some to spirituality, but some people are really, really open to that, and I think it's an exciting time. So I want to close with a question, a couple questions. Final thought: if a listener looks up at the sky and wonders if they're alone in the universe, what do you want them to feel or think about?
Oh gosh, I want them to know that they are not alone, and they're not alone here either. There's people that'll talk and love them, and my mission is to support the shift. So I want them to feel less alone because the connection is already there. It's not something they have to go find or be worthy of. This is not a question of faith. This is not a question of belief. You don't have to believe in this. This is either you know it or you don't know it, and it's okay to not have all those answers yet. And in time, it's gonna come. So you gotta gotta get used to not having all those answers and just being kind of here to observe it. It's pretty cool. I want them to feel curiosity instead of fear, and I want them to feel wonder instead of doubt, and that the universe is alive, it's intelligent, it's aware, and it's way more than what we've been taught.
Excellent.
And there's just a whole lot more to learn. Did you want to do rapid fire? Because they're cool.
Yeah, let's stop. Okay. I don't know where the hour went, Amy, but this has been fascinating. And the research up until this that I've done has really opened my mind, and I'm more open to this area of experiences. But one of my favorite parts as we close out this episode of Mission Possible is rapid fire questions. I got 11 questions.
I'm ready.
I'm going to give them to you. Quick answers. First thing comes to mind. You ready?
Yes.
Roswell, cover up or overblown?
Cover up.
Area 51, what's really in there?
Crashed vehicles that are not from Earth, and then our attempts to reconstruct those, and there's a lot of different variances in us trying to figure it out.
The one UFO sighting in history you wish you could have witnessed yourself?
The Phoenix Lights.
Crop circles, ET communication or human art?
Both.
The
And
most
there's a big difference.
Okay. The most accurate portrayal of extraterrestrials in a movie or TV show?
Contact.
The most laughably wrong one?
Independence Day, but it was really fun.
If ETs landed tomorrow and asked to speak to one human, who should it be?
I hope it's not a government official or anybody important like that has maybe some different intentions. It just needs to be the regular person, because the change is going to happen from the inside out, not the top down.
Have ETs already been to the White House?
Yes, they have. It did nobody any good.
Star Trek or Star Wars, which is closer to the truth?
Star Trek is, but I'm a Star Wars fan. I want to put that out there.
The one question you'd ask an ET if you could ask it anything?
How can I help this work?
Excellent. Something you believe that even most UFO investigators won't say out loud?
That it's way bigger than you think, and it's about consciousness. It's about our soul. It's about us connected to all of it. It's such a big concept. It's hard to talk about still, but it's there. It's the thing.
Biggest misconception about you personally?
No, that I have all the answers to this, because I don't. I'm learning as I go, and I've been really super fortunate to have the experiences that I've had because it's helping other people. So yeah, I guess that's it.
Excellent. Last question. One word that describes your life's mission?
I'm an ambassador.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Amy. Those responses were great to the rapid fire question. Our guest has been Amy Bond. She is State Director of MUFON Idaho, the Mutual UFO Network. Amy, if they want to get in touch with you or find out more about you, MUFON Idaho, how can they do that?
Okay. Most people just email me directly. It's amymufoниdaho@gmail.com. That's how most people have gotten a hold of me. Or on Facebook, we are MUFON Idaho, and you can message me from there. Or
Great. So
if you have had an encounter, go to MUFON.com. It doesn't cost you anything. You just say, just click an abduction or click I've seen something, doink, and whatever. And then one of us will be connected with you within probably about 2 days.
excellent. Amy Bond, State Director of MUFON Idaho. Thank you. It's been a high honor and privilege. Fascinating.
Likewise.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very
Doug.
much.
Take care.